What causes you to circle back?
Because I'm trying to prove a point. Not prove a point.
No. Stay there. This is good. Say it again.
Because I was trying to prove a point.
So that's very interesting. So let me ask you some questions about, let's say you, outside of a business context, when you're trying to prove a point, how does that affect your language? How does that affect your tonality? How does that affect your approach?
It could sound like pushy or aggressive.
Yeah, anybody besides me ever been around somebody who's trying to prove a point and they repeat themselves over and over again as though you didn't hear them the first time? And what am I communicating when, like, what is someone communicating when they repeat themselves over and over again? You must not be smart enough to understand what I'm saying to you. And also, I'm operating under the false misperception that if I just continue to keep saying the same thing over and over again, that eventually you'll agree with me. But that doesn't make sense, does it? So my intention in pointing that out to you is like, I just need you to be clear, like what your intention is. Intention is like a colorful dye. See, you said it out loud and it was the truth, but then once you said it, you started to pull it back because you're like, no, like that. I know that's not the right answer, but it was what was true for you. It's like, yeah, I'm trying to prove a point. And intention is like a colorful dye. So in other words, like if you had like red food coloring and we put it in some water, like 1 drop, you won't notice, 2 drops, 3 drops, 4 drops, but then it'll turn like a little pink and then maybe fuchsia and then it turns into red. Yeah. And that's what happens with our intention. So that's why I'm pointing that out to you. So imagine if your intention instead was to help somebody to self-discover. How would that change your tonality, language, approach?
I mean, I think it'll be more like a curious question-based tone.
Yeah, so like imagine you're in front of like a bunch of first graders and you're trying to help them to self-discover something, and you know that like with a high degree of probability they will. And when you do, you get to see like that moment of recognition on their face when they self-discover instead of you telling them. So how would you speak to them? Yeah, like what would your approach be? Would you be trying to prove them wrong?
No.
Not at all, right? That seems ridiculous.
Mm.
And that's how we need to approach this. We need to operate under the assumption that so 2 things. 1, our intention is to not be right. Our intention is to connect and to help them to self-discover. Our intention is to serve. It's not to be right. Number 2, even though we've been taught otherwise, that high-level communication is not making statements, it's asking questions, because that leads to self-discovery. Number 3, operate under the assumption that people are intelligent, because they are. They have capability, they have capacity. They just have all of these psychological quirks and thinking that we all have as humans that get in the way. Things like motivated reasoning, which is where when I want something to be true, I will ignore all evidence to the contrary and seek out evidence to support my belief. I'm curious, over the last 2 weeks, has anybody noticed some motivated reasoning happening throughout society? Yes. The second is resulting. We're like, oh, because it was this way one time, it means it's always going to be this way all the time. That's not true. My uncle sold a house 10 years ago, and this is the way it had happened for him, so that means it's going to happen for me that way. No. Difference is context in the market. And then the next one is the endowment effect. Everyone on this call thinks your stuff is better than everybody else's. You know that, right? That's why everybody thinks their home is worth more than everybody else's, because it's mine. You ever notice that my stuff is stuff and your stuff is junk? This is what we're helping people to overcome. And I want you to understand something. You do not do that by like coming from a place of proving a point. You don't help people work through psychological quirks and emotions with logic and logic only. Or like, making a case. Like, I'd like to enter into exhibit A or exhibit B. Ask somebody specifically what causes you to believe and watch how quickly they get angry and defensive. So just keep that in mind as we're having conversations with people when it comes to price. And also keep in mind, which causes us to have compassion. Like, bro, 65% of all the people in the United States have the majority of their net worth tied up into their house. This is like it for them, bro. It's like all the money they think they're going to have in the world. I see you guys, how you behave over like $300 tickets to stuff. Not like $700,000 of like all the money you think you're going to get in the world. It's helping you to self-discover that's actually the best option. You see, but so what most of you guys on this call do is like, yeah, let me explain to you why it's the best option versus me asking questions. I'm curious, like when a home comes on the market for sale, like when do you think it has the most level of interest? When it initially hits the market or when it's been on the market for like 60, 90, 120 days? You see how that's way more powerful than me being like, well, let me pontificate to you all the reasons. So again, this isn't a battle. I think you guys are approaching this like it's a battle, like it's me versus you, like I'm right and you're wrong. I'm not here to prove a point. Instead, what I'm here to do is to share with you some information, help you to frame that information in a way that you can see it as accurately as possible, ask questions to help you to self-discover where the marketplace is showing us we need to be at in order to accomplish what you want, the time you want. Once we see that, and what we'll see, by the way, is not a pinpoint to the penny, but instead a tight, realistic range to what's reasonable. And then we can discuss strategy, right? Because price very much so is a strategy in an attempt to get the most. And we'll go over those strategies because I want you to feel comfortable with the one we end up choosing. Whatever you decide, I'm going to support you 100%. Okay. You see how everything I just said to you is like in that, what, is encapsulated in that statement that I just made. All right. So what are you aware of as I share this with you? Whatever you say is fine.
I think first, more question based, right? And to question based to self discover.
Yeah, and get rid of trying to prove a point.
And more agreeing, if they want to stay higher, first at least acknowledge it, and then switch to.
Well, yeah, be like, hey, that's certainly an option, because I want to be clear, like, you're the boss here. My job is to help you. It's never, ever to talk you into doing anything. Can I share with you what would concern me for you and your family, and ultimately how much you end up netting if you chose that approach? Because, by the way, is it their decision? Is it their home? Yes. Are they the boss? Yes. But when I go in trying to prove a point, who do I think the boss is? Me. Oh my God. Hey, the truth heals, but it hurts first. Sure does. In terms of starting higher, you were kind enough to share with me in preparation for connecting that the main reason you want to sell the home was blank and that you wanted to make this move happen in the next maybe 120 days. And gosh, I was thinking about this in preparation for kind of meeting with you on my way over. And this is where I pull like a wonderful Jose. He's a master at this. He goes like this. He goes, yeah, like that would mean we would have to be under contract. What are we in? We're in September, like October, November. Yeah, I mean, we have to be under contract in the next like 45 or 60 days because it usually takes another 45 or 60 days to close. Have you thought about that? I'm like, not really. It's like, yeah. So, well, let me ask you this. What would happen on the outside chance if we were still sitting here 120 days from now and the home wasn't sold? What would that mean for you and your family? Oh, man, that wouldn't be good. Well, tell me more about that. Why wouldn't it be good? Oh, we'd have to leave and I'd have to leave my wife behind. It's like, okay. So it sounds like that's really not an option for you, is it? And they're like, no, man, we definitely don't want that to happen. So it's like, man, so being that that's the case, does it seem like that strategy of starting high down would actually serve you best? No. And then you know what you say? I agree with you, Roji. Ooh, wee, that's some Jedi stuff right there. Yeah, I agree with you, Roji. I don't think, based on what you've been kind of to share, that strategy doesn't really seem to serve you best. And that brings us to the second strategy we have at our disposal. And that's where we position the property very competitively. By that, what I mean is very close to what's sold recently and perhaps even a little bit below. The logic behind that strategy is, we can get a lot of people interested right out of the gate and we force them to compete and maybe even get multiple offers on the table. Now, let me ask you this, Roji. In a multiple offer situation, who usually ends up winning in terms of negotiating, the buyer or the seller?
Well, I think the seller.
Yeah, and why is that?
Oh, you have more to choose from.
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. And people are competing, so you get to dictate terms and conditions. I'm curious, Reggie, would you like to be in a position, a situation where we get to dictate terms and conditions?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Like, why would I not be, right? The other issue is not only what percolates to the surface is the most that somebody's willing to pay, which that's what something's worth. I don't need to tell you. I mean, that is what somebody's willing to pay for it. We also get the best terms. Can I explain to you what I mean? Well, remember how you shared like you really wanted to make this move happen in the time frame that you want? We can say to them, hey, we have to close by this time frame. We could also say to them, hey, we want you to remove these contingencies or shorten inspection periods or things of that nature. And most importantly, from a financial perspective, we get to choose the offer that has the best terms. Meaning, let's say we have two offers that come in that are FHA and one offer that comes in that's cash. Which one do you think we're going to go with?
Cash.
Why is that?
Because it's more certain to close.
That's right. So just by you saying that demonstrates that you're beginning to recognize that this second strategy not only helps you net the most, but also increases the probability that we'll be able to close on time, so that way you don't have to, have that situation where you have to leave your family behind. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so here's the deal. You're the boss. I'm here to help, not here to talk you into do anything. So based on what you're looking to accomplish and why, based on the time frame you'd like to make this happen in light of the two strategies you have at your disposal, what we're seeing happening in the marketplace, and what you value most at this point in time in terms of time frame, and wanting to make it happen within that time frame, which one of these two options do you think would serve you and your family best, help you net the most and get the best terms and conditions?
Oh, the second option.
Yeah, I agree with you. That seems to make sense. You like that, Franklin? Yeah, I agree with you, Bo. That seems to make sense. So being that we're in agreement with regards to positioning the property competitively, seems like, we're on the same page there. Do you have any other questions or concerns for me before we take care of the appropriate paperwork?
Well, what if you start lower? Don't you think people start like lowballing even more?
Yeah, I certainly see where you're coming from, and I understand that concern. And here's the really awesome thing, Roji, is that it's actually impossible to underprice something in a truly open market. Can I explain to you what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if let's say 750 was the best deal right now on the market in our county for a 4-bedroom, 2-bath home with a pool, what do you think is going to happen within the first week or two?
I get a lot of interest.
Yeah, a lot of interest, and more likely than not, offers. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And again, when you have multiple offers on the table, when you force people to compete, what ends up percolating to the surface is the most that somebody's willing to pay. And as you know, Roji, again, I don't need to tell you what something's worth is what somebody's willing to pay for it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Any other questions, comments, concerns before we take the next steps?
No, I think we're good.
Yeah, I figured as much. So again, yes?
Yes.
So what are you noticing? Whatever you say is fine.
It's self-discover, but you're also like kind of controlling the conversations almost subconsciously to the other side.
Yeah.
Right? Because after you just told them why the strategy is more suitable, you ask them again. So again, based on what's important to you and your family, which
Yeah,
one?
like, what do you think we should do?